Hello, trading is closed on May 20th, 2021. We always start with our disclaimers, so let's do that. It's my trading plan for Friday, May 21st, 2021. I can be completely wrong. Trade at your own risk. Please follow the rules of my channel. Tell your friends and click like if you like the channel. We said unless we gapped down, we should see higher prices today, and we did. Called for the pattern with the early low. This is it. Tomorrow also has the early low. Here's what we said. If we don't gap and undercut today's low, we should see higher prices. This is the MEJT list of signals from today. These Fs show moves that the system said would retrace. They already have. We have an ultimate sell signal. The minimum target is 4137.91. It doesn't have to print anytime soon, but almost always you'll see within 2 or 3 days, and almost always you'll get more than that. This is actually a positive signal here. We have a reversal bar involving a flat lower Bollinger Band. That targets the challenge of the upper band, which is way up here. But if we don't trade past today's close by 1 cent, that doesn't count. So if you're going to maintain the negative impression I have, would be ideal if we gapped down tomorrow. Of course, none of these signals are going to work every time, but that's what you really want to see. Don't always get what you want. What I did want was for all my targets to print. This is a target from May 18th. We get to cross it off the list. Note how that pretty much identified today's close. We've crossed over the target a number of times. We didn't close under it, and there is support under it. But with a minute left to go, we were under it. And I'm viewing that as a break of support because we've challenged it so many times. But that has to be confirmed by following through at tomorrow's open. This is a prior high. This is a long consolidation. This is a late break higher. This is the bar which took us over this high. We've closed under the low of the bar, and that can be interpreted as a sell signal too. In addition, we gapped up, hit a high, hit a higher high, closed under all these highs. It's all negative stuff, and either we gap and overtake this high promptly tomorrow, or else we see lower prices. Such a gap up isn't impossible. I don't know what's going to happen tomorrow, but there is strong resistance in this area, as we'll see in just a minute. And we also have a lower target. And again, while there isn't a time frame on this target, usually it prints pretty quickly, 4137.91. And I think I have one of these every 2 or 3 years, which doesn't print at all. Here's the longer term chart. We're still under this trend line, and today's close was under this prior high. In fact, we've had a very strong rally, but the close, this red line, is under all these prior highs, even this one. So the strong rally so far hasn't accomplished anything. Now maybe it will tomorrow. Time doesn't run out at today's close, it runs out at tomorrow's open. So if we gap over this, that's killed. But right now we have a strong rally. It's right to resistance even on the daily chart. This is the close. This is the point at which we broke under this trend line. Stopped right there. That's resistance. stopped under all these prior highs. That's resistance. And it's possible to count this as either a 3 or 5 wave structure. And there are fibs which say it's completed. You can count this as 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, or ABC with good fibs. We also have a cup with an upsloping handle, and when you break through the low of this handle, you're supposed to drop under the low of the cup. Now, to invalidate it, you have to go over this line, and ideally not go over this high. So it might fail, but that's the active pattern I have right now. Now, there are any number of ways to count this, and probably there are some I haven't come up with. It's possible to count this as magenta A, magenta B, magenta C. It's also possible to count as magenta A with A, B, C with good fibs right at that high. You've also got a 61.8% retracement of this drop and what could be a 2B top we saw earlier. This could be a false move higher because it was immediately rejected. So we do have really strong resistance in this area along with a lower target. And if it's going to work, you really should drop pretty much right from the open. And of course, if you gap over this high, gap over by 1 cent wouldn't do too much to me. But if we gap over this, the whole idea is going to be pretty much killed. Tomorrow's pattern has a really low. We could gap up. We gapped up, hit a higher high, closed under the intraday highs. Pattern's negative. Unless we gap and promptly overtake today's high, we should see lower prices. Doesn't guarantee we close lower, but there is an ultimate sell signal. There's a minimum target over 20 handles lower. Doesn't have to print tomorrow, but the majority of the time, not all the time, we'll see it before Monday's close. The rally hasn't cleared prior highs. The wave count's compatible with the end of the leg. Bears need to invalidate today's rally promptly because we printed the reversal bar involving a flat lower Bollinger Band, and if the rally continues, we should see a challenge of the upper band. The ideal situation for the bears is to gap down and drop right from the open. That could be a pretty big drop. The ideal situation for the bulls is to gap over today's high. So I think tomorrow's open is going to be critical. Right now, this is a pretty negative pattern. The strong rally hasn't accomplished anything. We have a lower target, and all we need is follow through if you're a bear. Just be aware that I have nothing guaranteeing we're going to get the follow through, but if this holds, it should be a long way down. So we'll have to wait for tomorrow's open to see if that's going to hold or not. And that's today's call.